was the big incident at your high school?
Okay, my sophomore year, there was a girl who transferred as a junior to our school. Middle of the year, super random, but she said she had moved from somewhere, so it was like, okay. She was really quiet, but she went to a lot of parties and like football games and stuff like that. Went to our school for a year, then out of nowhere disappeared randomly. A few weeks later, there was a giant drug bust at our school. She was an undercover cop. Students didn't know, staff didn't know, principal didn't know. She was in our yearbook. We got 21 Jump Streeted, bamboozled.
What was the big incident at your high school?
Brock Baker. So there's my senior picture from high school. Yeah, I went to Columbine. I know I usually make silly videos, but yeah, nobody really knows that I went there, and I never really knew how to talk about it. I mean, I was in middle school 2 miles away when it happened, but I still remember that day very vividly. So this is the house I grew up in. Check out this awesome snowman that I made. So that's where I lived until I was 20, and there is Columbine. Still feels weird, and now school shootings are super common, you know, pre-COVID, obviously. I don't really have an agenda with this video. Just one of my fears of having kids is having to worry about that kind of shit. But, you know, you can't worry about everything. A lot of you probably weren't even born yet, but yeah, that's a peek into my childhood. Take care of yourselves.
What was the big incident at your high school?
This wasn't high school, it was middle school, but since I went to a secondary school where middle school is attached to a high school, I think it counts. It was 7th or 8th grade biology when we were looking at cells and, you know, looking at different types of cells underneath microscopes, learning about cells, and pretty much everything that everyone knows about cells we were doing in 7th and 8th grade. During my class period, we had to take a Q-tip, scrape the inside of our cheek, rub it on a slide, and look at it under a microscope, so that way we could just see what our cheek cells looked like. It's very cute. My teacher at the time had a special microscope which actually projected what she saw onto a screen, so that way we could see everyone's cells and see what everyone's cheek cells looked like. It was pretty cool. When she was projecting this one girl's cheek cells, we all knew exactly what she was doing that morning because swimming around on screen with its little tail, we all saw an entire sperm. Needless to say, BJ Betty, she kind of left our school after that incident, so yeah.
What was the big incident at your high school?
So last year, freshman year, there was a fight between these two girls. And one of the girls were pregnant and the other one was just fucking crazy. So basically they fought in this like field area that we have in the back of the school. And the other girl was kicking the other girl in the belly and was like trying to kill her baby, I guess. And the pregnant girl stabbed the other girl in the head. And there ended up being a bunch of fucking cops that came to this school and stuff. And I think the girl who was trying to kill the baby got arrested with attempted murder because I think she had a baby or whatever. And then the other girl, the pregnant girl, got like assault with a deadly weapon because she stabbed the other girl in the head. Like there was a full gash on her fucking head, like a hole in her head. I have a bunch of pictures and stuff, but they are deep in my fucking photos.
What was the big incident at your high school? I'll go first.
Oh, I'll go first. If you know me, this story is about to get fucked up. Basically, as a high school basketball player, we all made it to the state championship boys and girls basketball team. Not only to mention the fact that the girls made it too. So we all went to the same college so that we can practice on 94 feet. After that, we went to the hotel. They put us all on the same floor. Dumbasses. There was a shorty on the girls team that I was real cool with for like a long time before we even had this little state championship incident. Not only that, I also had a girlfriend at the time. So I pretty much came in their room just to, you know, chill and stuff like that. VCU was already playing a school called St. Joseph's. And the school that Virginia plays at for state championships is VCU. That's their neutral site. So me and this girl, we shall not speak on her name. So she had a roommate for the night. So I had to call one of my boys from the team just to keep her occupied because, you know, that would have been awkward. So things was getting frisky and we was doing our thing along with my boy and old shorty. One of the coaches knocked on the door, like for part 2.
What was the big incident at your high school?
Boy, do I have one for you. All right, so it was my sophomore year of high school, so the year 2018, it was March. Basically, in the middle of my science class, a kid had a seizure and our entire school went into a medical lockdown and was rushed to the hospital. This seizure was the result of an overdose that was a part of this kid's suicide attempt. They actually found a suicide note on the kid's school laptop while the kid was having a seizure. They were in medical lockdown for a while. Kid was obviously rushed to the hospital and they almost died. And for a while, it was actually going around school that they had died, and while they were very close to it, they didn't actually die. They spent a week in the PICU and 2 months in the psych unit. Why are you telling us this? It's private. The kid was me.
What was the big incident at your high school?
Well, I went to Columbine High School in Colorado, so as you can imagine, it was the time when they served chicken tenders on Taco Tuesday, followed closely by the time that 2 students came in trench coats. And
What was the big incident at your high school?
Alright. So a man like me went to Central Tech, so I have bare stuff to choose from, but here's the most memorable one still. So basically it was lunchtime, so we did what we always do at Central Tech during lunchtime. We balled up a thing, but man's loafed it, so we never really got to eat. I was Marv too, so I'm about to go back to class. I see one of my bedrooms, he's like, yo, I have a spare, you're not trying to come to McDonald's? I'm like, alright, say less, because it really didn't take much for me to skip that year, So tell me how I'm at McDonald's. Mans are munching on a junior chicken. My brethren's like, yo, look at the TV screen. I look up. Tell me why our high school is on TV. Like, there's a helicopter flying over our school. Then next thing you know, there's like SWAT team running into the school with riot shields and thing. We're like, what's going on? Turns out there was a shootout in the stairwell and the school was under lockdown for 5 hours. But because man skipped, we avoided the whole thing still. But yeah, that changed everything at that school.
What was the big incident at your high school?
Okay, buckle in because my high school experience was insane. I don't know how I'm going to get through this in a minute, so get ready. Okay, so the school I went to had a huge performing arts department, so much funding, even though not that many kids did performing arts, don't even ask. And they also had a massive sports faculty, and the two had this big feud, and it started off with name calling stuff, but quickly got really violent. The sports kids used to throw shit at the performing arts kids in the corridors, it got really nasty. And then eventually the performing arts kids formed this singing group, and they performed regionally, nationally. They won a bunch of competitions, and over the 5 years I was there, they just took over the entire high school. They would perform in the canteens, on the playground. None of the kids went to class. And then when those kids graduated, they never left. They just kept coming back and singing everywhere. It was insane. And then one of them won a Grammy, another one of them won a Tony. And then the principal of the school became vice president of the United States. Her name was Coach Sue. And Mr. Sue.
What was the big incident at your high school?
So, I don't know if they do this in every country, but in Australia, we get, year photos every year. I told you I already knew it! Anyway, and, if you know, there's, a stand, and, it goes, a couple meters high up, and the tallest go on the top, and the shortest go on, the bottom, and then you get, your year group photo.
I'm always at the bottom.
Anyway, so, I was on the very, second last step, a fair few meters off the ground, and old mate behind me falls off, literally falls over the, it's not funny, falls over the railing, and fucking falls down, 6-7 meters onto concrete, and to make it even worse, the photos they used,
It was him on the ground!
in the photo album,
And we're all traumatized in the photo,
the photo they used is him on the ground, and us all in the photo like this.
What was the big incident at your high school?
So our principal was having an affair with our assistant principal. So that's already pretty bad, but it gets worse. They had used about $12,000 in Fairfax County taxpayer money to fund 3 trips for them to go on. They did go to Orlando and they did go to Las Vegas. They were going to go to Phoenix until the scandal got out, all for school conferences. There it is on the news. The news really sugarcoated it and it pissed people off. They didn't get fired. They got paid leave and then they resigned and then they got new jobs. So that was a big one. We also had the baseball team basically rape a freshman and call it hazing. And then someone brought a gun to one of our basketball games. I love public school. I love it.
What was the big incident at your high school?
When I was in high school, my junior or senior year, the big thing was going to the bathroom with your buddies and ripping your jewel. Well, basically one day the teachers found out about it and everyone in high school managed to fit 50 kids into the same bathroom. They all got busted and it was a really big deal. There were athletes in there, theater kids, just a bunch of people that had everything to lose. And everyone talked about it for like the longest time. But while that shit was going down, I was sitting in the corner of my history class, spitting dip all over the floor. Moral of the story, don't rip your jewel. Pack a lip.
What was the big incident at your high school? I'll go first. Anyone that knows me knows this is about to get messed up really quick. But essentially, there was a high school party, an all-white themed party. Already a dumb idea, but that's not the point. Two of the students, not one, two of the students thought it would be a good idea to wear white robes with white pillowcases on top of their heads. So essentially, they dressed like KKK members. Oh, and I have the proof. It was literally in multiple news articles. You can see it right here. Look at that. Look at what they're wearing, right? It gets even more messed up. There were multiple news sources, Global being one of them, that tried to make it come off as a misunderstanding. It literally says, police say it's a misunderstanding and the students didn't intend to come off as racist. And I know high school students are dumb, but you're telling me as one, you put on a white robe and a white pillowcase and see nothing wrong with it? If you ask me, the misunderstanding was just a way of protecting their safety because they were receiving death threats. But yeah, that was the big thing. What was the big incident at your high school? I'll go first.
I'll go second. Here at Drumheller in Alberta, we were on our New Year's and Christmas break, and we all got kind of a notification. There has been an accident, and we all look on Facebook and social medias. Oh, picture of somebody drove through our school into the side of the building with their truck, and then they pulled out and drove down the street and parked it after probably a party. So if you need proof, I have proof. Yeah, just DM me.
What was the big incident at your high school?
I low-key feel like this was racism, but like I have to say it because this was wild. So let's just put this out there. There was this Muslim black guy who was very clearly Muslim, you could tell by his name, who said that he was going to bring fireworks to the festival that's going to be happening the next day at school. Okay, and it's an outdoor festival. We have it at the end of every year. So I'm guessing someone overheard him say that to someone else and they told the principal. So the next day comes around. It's the time of the festival. And we have to do it indoors because there is literally 10 cop cars investigating a bomb threat, which was the guy who said he was bringing fireworks. Mind you, he wasn't even at school that day. So they went to his house. I heard they raided his house. They were looking for him. And yeah, it was just, we never saw him again after that day.